The coffee cup trembled in his hand the moment the shouting started, hot liquid sloshing dangerously close to the rim as the entire cafe seemed to hold its breath. In a small corner shop filled with the smell of roasted beans and quiet exhaustion, one man stood up when everyone else looked away. He didn't know why his heart was pounding so hard, or why his legs moved before his mind could stop them. All he knew was that someone was being humiliated, and his son was watching from the table behind him. Sometimes, a single moment of courage changes everything, especially when you have nothing left to lose. If you believe kindness still matters in a world that often looks away, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories about second chances and quiet bravery. Ethan Miller was 34, exhausted in ways sleep could never fix, and living life on a tightrope stretched between responsibility and survival. Since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, the world had narrowed to school drop-offs, late-night laundry, and constant math in his head about groceries and rent. That morning, he had counted coins twice before walking into the coffee shop, telling himself that one small treat for his 8-year-old son wasn't a crime. The cafe wasn't fancy, just warm, with scratched wooden tables and windows fogged yellow winter breath. No sat-coloring superheroes, unaware that his father's shoulders carried the weight of an entire future. That piece shattered when a man in an expensive coat began berating a woman near the counter. His voice cut through the room, sharp with entitlement, accusing her of cutting in line and wasting his time. The woman stood frozen, clutching her cup, her posture calm but her eyes reflecting something deeper than embarrassment. People pretended to check their phones, baristas avoided eye contact, and the air grew heavy with cowardice. Ethan felt a familiar itch in his chest, the same itch he felt when his wife had been dismissed by doctors, when bills arrived stamped overdue, when the world reminded him how easy it was to be invisible. Without thinking, he stood up. His voice wasn't loud, and it wasn't polished, but it was steady. He placed himself between the woman and the man, not with anger, but with a quiet firmness that came from years of standing up for a child who depended on him. He didn't insult or threaten. He simply made it clear that no one deserved to be spoken to that way, especially over something as small as a coffee. The cafe seemed to exhale as the man scoffed and stormed out, dignity intact for everyone except himself. Ethan sat back down, heart racing, hands shaking slightly as adrenaline drained away. He expected nothing, no thanks, no applause. That's how his life worked. He did the right thing and moved on. The woman, however, glanced at him before leaving, her expression unreadable, her presence lingering like a question he didn't know he'd been asked. The rest of the day unfolded like any other. Ethan picked up No from school, helped with homework, and reheated leftover pasta for dinner. Yet something felt different, like a subtle shift in the air. The next morning, his phone rang from an unknown number, and early afternoon, his entire sense of reality cracked open. The woman from the cafe wasn't just anyone. She was Clara Whitmore, a self-made billionaire, founder of a global tech company, and one of the most powerful women in the country. She had been in town quietly, without security, trying to remember what it felt like to be treated like a human being instead of a title. Clara had been defended in boardrooms, lawyers and contracts, but never in a coffee shop. Tired single father with coins in his pocket. Ethan's act hadn't impressed her because it was brave, it impressed her because it was ordinary. He hadn't known who she was. He hadn't expected a reward. He had simply acted the way he hoped someone would act if his son were ever the one being shamed. Over the following weeks, their lives intersected in ways Ethan never imagined. Clara didn't sweep in with grand gestures or pity. She listened. She learned about No, about the nights Ethan stayed awake worrying, about the dreams he'd buried when survival became more urgent than ambition. She saw potential not as a charity case, but as a man who had been too busy being good to be lucky. Opportunities appeared, not handouts, but doors opened gently. A stable job aligned with Ethan's old skills. A scholarship fund for No, structured carefully to preserve dignity. Support that felt like respect, not rescue. Ethan struggled with it at first. Pride and fear wrestled inside him, the old belief that accepting help meant weakness. But Clara showed him something different, that strength also meant knowing when to let life meet you halfway. Slowly, his shoulders relaxed. Laughter returned to his home. No slept better. Hope stopped feeling dangerous. Months later, Ethan returned to that same coffee shop, this time without counting coins. He watched No chat freely, confidence blooming where anxiety once lived. The memory of that day felt distant and sharp all at once. He realized that his life hadn't changed because he met Billionaire. It changed because he chose to be decent when it was inconvenient. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Comment below with the word kindness if you believe small actions can change lives. You never know who might be inspired by your words. Ethan never became famous. He never sought attention for what he did. But somewhere in a busy coffee shop, a quiet choice issued outward, changing the trajectory of two lives and proving that the most powerful thing a person can be is human. And sometimes, the world rewards that not with riches, but with something far more valuable, a future that finally feels possible.